Hello. Welcome to Solo Pro Radio. This is your host today, Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs. It's my mission to help those of you in solo businesses. You know who you are. Your encore entrepreneurs, your creatives, your consultants, your professionals, your healthcare professionals, your photographers, writers, all of you who operate in one-person businesses. My goal is to help you be more financially successful. And I do that through my book, which is a fill-in-the-blanks workbook. And the filling in the blanks is worth doing. It helps you change your thinking by looking at the thoughts and the ideas that are holding you back from the financial success that you deserve. I also do it through several online programs, online classes that I have. One is very popular. It's called How to Charge What You're Worth. And I also offer a study group associated with the book, which you can find online at www.opensesame.com. And, you know, joining a study group is a fabulous way to take that course and work through the workbook because you have some help, whether it's me with an online program or a cohort that you can find at Portland Community College where you have people that are helping you deal with your challenges, your aha moments, your yeah buts. Who has yeah buts? We all do, right? And the things that you need to do to change the way that you're approaching your business. I hope you'll take a look at it. And today, we're going to talk to a really exciting and interesting solopreneur. Her name is Fay Putnam, and Fay's just simply led an interesting life. She's been a Navy wife, a professional singer, a voice teacher, and now she is a teacher of the Alexander Technique and breathing re-education. Fay says that she's learned over the years that breath is the answer, which is the name of her growing solopreneur company. I'm eager to learn from Fay what she is teaching about helping her clients become successful as professional presenters, singers, and speakers. Hello, Fay.
Hello.
I'm so glad you could be with us. This is really great.
I'm glad to be here today, Jackie.
Yeah, oh, it's terrific. Bring a little sunshine to this kind of cloudy day that we're having here.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, Fay, tell us about your background. Like, where did you grow up, and what did you study, and how did you get into professional singing? And, you know, talk to us about that. That's just an interesting path as it is.
Okay, I grew up in a very small village in central New York State, about 35 miles, a half hour south of Syracuse, New York. And I ended up at Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York, which is also the home of Cornell, I might say, and studied music education with a voice major. And from there, I went on to sing with my former choir director at Ithaca College, Greg Smith, who had a professional choir that was in L.A., and he moved the choir to New York, and I was what they call a ringer in the professional musician world, and when he needed someone to fill in, he would call me, especially because he had some people that didn't like to tour. So I would go off and tour occasionally, and then in 1994 I started full-time, which meant I commuted from Virginia to New York and sang all the New York City series concerts and then did some European tours and things like that.
Wow. So when you're in a choir like that and you tour, does that mean you go and you perform in concert halls and maybe churches and auditoriums and places like that? Is that how that works?
Yes. We the concert tours for this particular choral group were the last United States tour. We flew to L.A. and we went to Mexico City and did some work, and then we gave a concert in L.A. and had a bus and went completely back across country. A lot of community concert series.
Well, that's so interesting. How big a choir was it?
19.
Oh,
17
fabulous.
to 19 people, depending.
Well, the wonderful thing about a choir like that, I would think, is that your voice would have a chance to be heard. You know, you would not be buried among 60 other voices, but, your voice would be an integral part of whatever was happening.
Well, that's right. That's what you said. That is right. Actually, my voice would not be heard, hopefully, but it would become a part of the color of the total sound of the section I was in.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be four of us, all quite different voices, but we'd learn to work together so that what came out to the audience was a blended sound of that particular mixture of quality.
Boy, when I'm thinking
Does that
about
make any sense? Yeah.
When I'm thinking about what you're saying right there, that four of you had completely different voices, but you created a blended sound that, enhanced the total sound of the choir. That sounds like a tremendous metaphor for what needs to happen in businesses and families and communities,
Well, it is, actually.
How to sing together.
Yeah, you're right there. You're right, absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a matter of not losing your own, but listening and working so that you can become a better member of the community, let's say that.
Oh, wow. What a great stance from which to go into consulting and working with other people who want their voice to be heard. Wow.
Well, that's true. Thanks. I had never really thought of it that way, but it certainly is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were steeped in it for years and years and years of learning how to not give up your own voice, but bring your voice into coordination and into making, as you said, you were the color or the total sound that came out.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
What a
That's
great
true.
metaphor.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll try to keep this in mind so that one of the blogs I write soon we'll be bringing that in. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
There we go.
Great lessons, and we all need to do that, right? Have that
exactly
stance of being our individual selves that we're bringing forward, and come into the community and support the community.
That's
so,
true.
what did you learn as a professional singer and then as a voice teacher? Were you teaching voice through this whole career?
Yes. In fact, that's what I was mostly doing. I was teaching an adjunct at different colleges and universities, depending where we were living, and I was forming groups that met my performance bug, so that I had some of that to do, because that's what really fed me, because I've always loved to sing. So I formed a couple of professional quartets, and I had a trio with clarinet and piano and I, and so I spent a lot of time with that, but then I also had private students and taught a little music school and Christopher Newport University in Virginia and around like that.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Good for you. So that's the other thing I'm going to point out to you is that that's what entrepreneurs do. Okay. So you're telling me you've been an entrepreneur for a long time. Entrepreneurs are the ones that look out and see that they can't find what they want, or they see that there's a missing piece in what they're doing, and they create it. And, you were doing that. You get into a community and say, where's the choir? Where's the singing group? Where's the,
Well, that's true. But it wasn't just where's the singing group, because there are always singing groups. But there are only particular kinds of singing that I really enjoy. So, to keep myself going, and from day to day, when maybe husband is off on cruises for months and months and months at a time, and that's what I've done when I didn't have the breaks and the singers to sing with, because that's the type of music that I love. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, ever.
Well, I'm sure you didn't, but, that's what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah, I do know that now. Mm-hmm.
See something that they would like to have, and they look around and can't find it, so they go create it. And
exactly.
Very creative mindset for entrepreneurs. They say, wait a minute, where's the, blah, blah, blah. I can't find one. I think I'll go make one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we see that
we do
again.
what we have to do.
Yeah. And what you're doing is bringing a gift to the community and satisfying your own needs at the same time.
Exactly.
So when you were a singer, did you get support from an Alexander Technique practitioner?
Yes and no. I didn't know about the technique until 1988 when I came back from the United States from Belgium and was trying to do some continuing ed for my teaching. So I went to Westminster Choir College at that point and took a whole week in an introductory class in Alexander Technique, and I, at that point, had no idea what it was. It just sounded good. It sounded like something a teacher should do. And then, interesting enough, after all these years, I didn't start training until 10 years later, and it was even after I had trained that I realized that my voice teacher at Ithaca College had to have had a background in Alexander Technique, because I realized that I knew that the way he trained singers was very different, but had no idea that that's what it was until after I'd been trained and been teaching singing and the Alexander Technique. So, yes, I've had the influence all my life since I was 20. Since I was 19.
Wow.
So, but it was all very indirect procedure because I had no idea that there was a name for it.
Wow.
I understand from a friend of mine who studied with this voice teacher who was in New York and came to Ithaca just 3 days a week, that, yes, he did know it, but he felt like it was such wonderful information and whatnot, and everybody should do this, just do it, that he didn't want to put a name to it.
Wow.
So he didn't
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, so it's full circle.
So,
there are no coincidences.
No, there aren't. There's a synergy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Barbara, are you there?
Heard something. Yeah, I'm here. I heard something and I thought, you've gone away.
No.
Okay.
So what exactly is the Alexander Technique? You know, what is it, and kind of where did it come from, and how long has it been around? You know, talk to us about that. Cause
I will. I'm very happy to, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk about it. It's something that we Alexander Technique teachers love to talk about, and it's also can be very hard to pin down what exactly it is. So I'm going to give a quote. It's a paraphrase of a quote that F.M. Alexander used to describe it, and he said, "You are not here to learn exercises or to do something right. You are here to discover what puts you in the wrong and learn to deal with it."
Okay.
So the Alexander Technique, I think of it mostly as an educational tool that teaches us to become aware of how we react to incoming challenges and stimuli, whether they're mental or physical or emotional. And in becoming aware of these stimuli, we learn to stop if our reaction to it is not helpful. And then we learn to put something new into that, in that space that it takes to stop, which is no longer than a second. That's enough time for us to change to maybe react in a more beneficial way. The technique in the United States has mostly become known as something that people in music and art and instrumentalists and athletes do, that they study this to help them. And I think that a little bit is because Alexander started as an actor.
Okay.
And he kept losing his voice and becoming hoarse when he spoke and go to the doctor, and they really couldn't do anything other than tell him not to do that anymore, which he became frustrated, and he decided that it wasn't a pathological problem, so that he would go and discover what it was he was doing that was causing this hoarseness. because obviously it was something he was doing to himself. It wasn't bacteria or some other malformation. So over a period of 10 years, he, like many geniuses, these people that are so focused they only see one thing.
Yeah.
He used mirrors, and he watched himself and right away figured out what he was doing, but then realized it was more complicated than that because his thoughts to do his Shakespearean recitations caused this reaction physically.
Wow.
So he had to figure out some way to break that habit, essentially, because he realized that if he raised his arm or did something else and started the recitation, he didn't do the old habit. So that's sort of how it came about. And in the process, he also found that when he was helping his acting students, that they changed quicker if he touched them or gave them a little bit of direction, sort of like coaches do with gymnastics. When I've seen gymnastics coaches working with the gymnasts, they don't really do anything for them, but they'll guide them and give them a little support to help them along to do the right thing. Well, he found that the habits changed quicker if he did do that. So that's how the hands-on process came about. As he was working with these students, it became more clear that they were also having other positive reactions to the training, that some of them had tensions that seemed to go away. So the technique has become known as the postural technique, the one that can help. There's been a huge study done on back pain in the UK, and so it's been proven with statistics and with a huge study with over 600 subjects that it was the best tool to help with back pain.
Oh my God!
So there are many different areas in which the technique is useful. So it makes it more difficult for our teachers, I think, to actually hone in on what you so beautifully call their niche.
Yes.
Because we see, as creative people, we see that it is good for virtually everyone.
Right.
Which complicates it in a bit, in a way.
Yeah. Wow. So, as a teacher, how did you study? How did you yourself become an Alexander Technique teacher?
Okay, I had moved to California and had been in contact with a training course there just to find out information, because it had been 10 years since I had done the technique and I didn't have any students, and decided maybe this is what I should do now. And I went to this training course that was in Berkeley, is in Berkeley, and it is a certified course, certified by the American Society for the Alexander Technique. And I went there for 3.5 years.
Wow.
The minimum training is 3 years. And we, at this point, are required to have at least 1,600 hours of classroom training. So I went a little bit over that because I did some touring and stuff and was missing, so I went a whole term extra. And then after that, I kept going until I had enough students that it was too difficult to go. And then I went 1 day a week and assisted on the training course. But the training course is 3+ years, 3 to 4 years usually, meets 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, regular school schedule, September to July.
My goodness. And what does it consist of?
It consists of reading all of the books that Alexander wrote, his books, and studying them. There is some different courses are different. There's no prescribed, you have to do these things, except reading his books and practical hands-on training, which is an apprentice-style program. So you're working under a teacher who has studied it and taught for at least 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And there is some anatomy, but Alexander didn't believe that we needed to know anatomy like a doctor, but we did need, but knowing where things are and how we work in that way is helpful. So we do some of that. Field trips out to do activities, going out and onto the street and watching people and analyzing how they're moving.
I'll bet you really got a very fine eye on seeing when people are going into their reaction mode in some way.
It's absolutely true. That's what we're trained to do. We're trained to be observers in every way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the hands-on work, which is another reason that it's so, that those of us who've been through this program feel it's so crucial to have a long, extended period of hands-on work, is that we're trained not only to give information with our hands, but also to receive it. Mm-hmm. So that we can pick up on very tiny changes that happen with people physically.
Uh-huh.
Because for everything, all the information that comes to us, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, any of these challenges that come to us, we have a physical reaction. Sometimes, and oftentimes, most of the time, we're not really in tune with that. We aren't really aware of it. And some of the tensions and reactions have become so deeply ingrained that we're totally not aware. It's so habitual we aren't aware. So there are people walking around in pain that really aren't even totally aware of it or are aware of where it comes from.
Wow. Wow. So we adopt a series of habits through our lifetime as a way to cope with emotional or physical or sensory inputs that are coming to us, and they quite often cause our body to be out of balance and maybe even cause us to lose our voice or all of those things that you're working on, and we may not even be aware that we're doing them, is what I hear.
You heard exactly right, Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly right. And so, what we do is very exciting work, and we're very passionate about it, and we're very anxious to get the word out to more people, because there are people of any age who can benefit and become better, whatever it is. We're not curing anything, but we're helping them to be better in every way.
Well, I would say that you're helping them become aware and then change.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You have to become aware first.
Absolutely. We teach them their awareness, and then to stop that which is not working, and to insert something that does work better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds simple, but it's not so simple, but it's definitely possible.
So changing very deeply ingrained in old habits in a lot of ways that you say people aren't even aware of.
That's true.
Well, how many practitioners of Alexander Technique are there?
I'm so excited because I got an email back this morning. I sent an email yesterday to the society and said, "Can you send me quickly how many there are?" And it came back this morning, 535 AMSAT certified teachers.
Wow.
But that's not very many. But that's
not very many for the population of us who are busy reacting on some sort of automatic mode and not thinking about what we're doing.
That's true. Most of the teachers are in clusters. They tend to be around where there are training courses, and there are a lot on the East Coast, and a lot in New York and D.C., and lots of them in San Diego and L.A. and San Francisco Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And there are quite a few teachers here, too. I'm not sure how many, 15, maybe 20. Mm-hmm. So there are quite a few here in the area. And we do have a website, actually, Alexander Technique.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Portland.
So, and who do they work with? I know you have worked particularly with singers and presenters. Who do your colleagues work with? Same or?
They work, there are a lot of them that work with dancers or actors. Dancers, actors a lot. Or people in pain. Because there are a lot of teachers that have come to this with repetitive stress injuries or back injuries or back pain.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them work with and try to work in that realm.
Uh-huh.
But as far as people who do what I do, specializing at this point in working with professionals who want to present themselves better in speech as well as in how they enter their space.
Mm-hmm.
I only personally know of 3 people who are specializing in that, and that's their target market. And that's one woman in LA and one woman in San Francisco and me.
Wow.
But I'm sure there are other people that work with those, but most Alexander teachers that I know aren't necessarily into any particular. We all work with everyone. I can work with anyone who comes to me, and right now I have a couple of people that I work with business, but other people who have come for various reasons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Well, I understand that, and of course, when we're talking about having a deep and narrow niche, that's what you lead with. It doesn't mean that if that isn't what somebody wants, you say, no, I can't work with you. But
right, exactly.
What you lead with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that you become known so that you can attract somebody's attention span, you know, which is, I keep saying the most scarce resource in the world is attention span. So.
I believe that.
Yeah. So we want to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So then you formed Breath is the Answer, your company. How long ago did you do that?
Actually, that came to me about a year and a half ago when I was taking your wonderful Breath, Better, Smarter, Richer workshop study group. And although I have to say, I was thinking back, I think it was probably at least 20, 25 years ago that Breath is the Answer came to me, the name. And that was when I was working with these singing students, and time again, we would, there are all sorts of things you can work on, but we would work on breath, and when they would finally get the breath piece, I would say, breath is the answer.
Yes.
And I used to say to them, I need a bumper sticker that says breath is the answer, because it really is. Right. So, in forming this business that I'm enjoying so very much now, that came to me. Why not? Because it is. And it's
well, it certainly is. It's pretty fundamental.
It exactly is.
As someone said, it's the first thing you do when you're born and, the last thing you give up when you leave. And,
that's it. Exactly. And people don't think about that, and often, from my experience at least, and I've done a lot of research on it, being a singer who always felt like she didn't have enough or it wasn't working, and finally saying, this is not right. We all do this. It should not be rocket science here. So, but until I did the graduate training in the Alexander technique and breathing coordination, I had never had breath explained to me in terms of exhaling first. And then it was pointed out to me, babies when they're born, what do they do? In fact, I had a new student yesterday, and I said, okay, and she was a singer, and yes, breathing was a problem. She'd had a baby, and oh boy, getting back that breathing was just something. So I said that to her, what I just said to you about exhaling, and we tried it, and she was almost in shock.
Wow.
Because and it's so simple. We have to break that habit. Now that's not so simple when we've had years and years of holding our breath, as a lot of us do, or most all of us do from time to time.
Yes.
Probably
yes.
more than we realize, because that's one of our
I just
mechanisms.
know that from the times that I've taken yoga, and they're always talking,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they do have the T-shirts, you know, breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, it's quite funny, and you know, you think, do I really need instructions on breathing? And it turns out we really do need instructions on breathing. And
Well, first of all, instructions, but then we need the practice of becoming aware of that.
mm-hmm.
And so once we become aware of how often we're holding our breath and how useful it is as a tool to help us in stress management, to help us when we're going to do a phone interview, and we think, okay, let's do a little breathing here just to make sure that our shoulders aren't up to our ears, and we're speaking in a half intelligible way.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I can understand how that would be valuable to you working with performers, because it must take a tremendous amount of presence of mind to not get a tightening of your whole body, and, you know, you say the shoulders going up around the ears
Yeah.
when you are getting ready to go on stage, or you know, starting your performance, because that's just kind of a natural stress reaction, and to overcome that with breathing must help a tremendous amount.
Well, it does.
Amazing.
It helps us in everything we do, because, for one thing, you know, these anxieties that we have, it's performance anxiety, and that's for anyone, and for public speakers, for singers, for anyone who is getting up in front of other people and saying something, whether it's at a meeting or a phone call or whatever it is. If we're thinking about, okay, we're going to exhale 3 times, say, and let our breath come, before we start, we're not thinking and dwelling on our nervousness.
Right.
We're in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our worry about what's going to happen next, or worry about what's happened before, that get us in trouble.
Right.
Usually, if we can stay right where we are in the moment, then we can go. And my experience has been with most people when you do presentations, whether it's whatever it is, that once you get talking about your subject, or once you get singing or performing, whatever you're doing, you have practiced that. You know that it will go. But if we've let ourselves work ourselves up into this breath-holding pattern, and this fear reflex, then it doesn't go. Then we get more wound up in that, rather than in the subject that we love, or whatever we're doing that we really love and we want to share.
Yes. Yes. We've all been there.
Mm-hmm. I know it.
We've all been there. I'm sure you too.
Oh,
When you were doing all your singing, for heaven's sakes, to be on a stage or in front of people and singing, I mean, that's quite a challenge.
well, it is a very big challenge, but it's. I don't think it's any more of a challenge. Well, in the musician world, I feel that being a singer is a bit more of a challenge, because our voice is our instrument. It's ourself. You know?
Yes.
So there's no getting away from it. And separating your singing from who you are is impossible.
Yes.
Where, you know, if you play an instrument, you can put your instrument in the case and put it in the closet and go out and walk down the street.
Yes. And you can say, that didn't go so well, but I didn't have the right reed, or a string broke, or
Yeah, right, exactly.
something like that. But when it's you,
the dent in my flute, I don't know.
yeah.
But I mean, not that it's not personal,
right.
but it's
not
just not the same. You don't carry it around with you 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of ways, that's what many of our solos are finding as well, because their business is them. And, in bigger businesses, the business is not you. The business is the organization that you create, but it is not you. But in a solo business, pretty much the business is you. It's your art or your performance or your ideas around which you're consulting or your book or your, painting or whatever it is that you're doing, your handiwork. It's much closer to being about you than bigger businesses. That's kind of one of the emotional things involved in being a solopreneur is, hey, it's you on the line here. You don't have a whole staff of people where you can say somebody else messed up if it messes up.
Yeah, that's right.
The
not one
really
of those four in the alto section.
Yes. Yes, it wasn't me. So how long have you had your solo business, Fay?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, I would say about 45 years.
So that's a long time.
One way or another.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing my own thing for all this time, and as a Navy wife, of course, I've had lots of opportunity to start over. And it's only been since this time of taking Better, Smarter, Richer that I feel like I finally gotten somewhere. It's always been very frustrating. It's always been very frustrating. And although I've learned along the way a lot of things, I know what needs to be done. One of the most important things I think I learned was the change of mindset. And in order for things to move forward in any way, there has to be a change of mindset to a business mindset, which artistic people and creative people don't innately have this. I think some do, the ones that we know about, but there are many who would love to be doing more of what, but it's so hard. And talk about the Alexander technique and changing our habitual response. It takes a while.
Yeah.
And people get really discouraged with that because they don't see anything happening, and it takes a while to have a new habit.
Yes, it does.
Of thinking.
Yes. That's why the cohorts and the study groups are really a fabulous addition to, working the workbook on your own, because others help you. They're, as you know, they're very open and interactive, and people help you see yourself and what you're doing to yourself that holds you back from being successful. And my experience over the last several years doing these study groups or leading the study groups is that they're very perceptive and very kind with each other, because when one person is talking to another study group member, they know that the reason that they recognize what their colleague is doing is because they've probably been doing it themselves. And, so there's a kindness in it, and there's a directness, but there's also a kindness. And, because we're teaching ourselves.
Absolutely.
When we teach others, we're teaching ourselves. And that's why they're so powerful to have that group come together and share their experiences and, share what's going on for them. It's really great.
Well, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true, and that's the important thing that I plan on sharing about Better, Smarter, Richer is that the support groups and the study groups are what makes this work.
Yeah.
And to give people permission to say, okay, I can't do this on my own, and I do need to have, and I do want to have support, and it's there.
Yes. Well, none of us can really do anything ourselves. Even somebody who's claiming pride and having done it all themselves, if they really thought about it, they've gotten a tremendous amount of support all the way along. And, we just can't do it ourselves. And to take it seriously and have permission to ask for help and to get help, and in a business context, to understand that you can collaborate with other professionals and that you can outsource for the admin and support work that you need, means that you don't have to create some big, huge organization where you're mired down in, management. You can create a team of people that are all serving the clients and, and serving you, and still being independent of one another. And as I like to say, you're the beloved client, not the mean boss. It's a totally different relationship. And that it really does work. You can, bring this to the world. And as you know, you talked about it, that you have a business. I like to remind you that you're doing this because you want to make money. And not only because you want to make money, but you also deserve to make money. Mm-hmm. And, there's no reason to have a specialty and have something that you've studied and worked on for years and years and years, and then be offering it out to people and not get paid for it. And the truth is, actually, if you don't get paid for things, that people don't value them. So,
true. True. Boy, that's
you need to get paid, and they need to pay you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
True. Yeah.
Two sides of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's kind of funny. The more you charge, the more people respect what you're doing. We had a fabulous videographer. She'd been a photographer in a career, and she moved into doing video photography work. And she was in one of the spring study groups. I love what she said. And she said, if I photograph a wedding and I charge $500, everybody has a suggestion for me. I mean, they're not only talking about the light and the shadow and who should be in the pictures and how I should pose them. They're questioning what camera I'm using. They're just questioning absolutely everything I do. She said, however, if I charge $10,000 to do the wedding, everybody backs off and says, oh, she is really an expert. She knows exactly what you're doing. I can't give her any advice because she is really a primo expert. Mm-hmm. Don't you love that?
I love it. I love it.
And think of the, just financially, that to do one $10,000 wedding as opposed to, it would take you 20 $500 weddings to make that up, and you would be totally exhausted and, not doing any good work anymore because you're tired and strung out. Whereas if you could do one $10,000 wedding, every month or every few weeks in wedding season, you'd be set. So, people need to charge good money for what they do.
Yes, it's true. I'm a convert.
Yeah, people don't take your advice if you don't charge them for that, They
That's
think,
true.
oh, yeah. So, Fay, what do you like best about your business? Breath is easy.
What do I like best? I like working with people and helping them become all they can be, and discovering. The best lessons are the ones where we discover something new that we didn't know about ourselves, whether it's in movement or whether it's in how I'm reacting to driving down the street and road rage or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And having people really walk out of my studio walking tall with confidence and feeling better.
Isn't that great?
In every way.
This wonderful picture of you helping people find their own stand, their own confidence, their own belief in themselves, and have taken charge of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
What a great feeling.
It's exciting, and it's interesting. I was writing a proposal for a workshop, and I showed it to a businesswoman who's a student of mine, and she said, this doesn't say it. She says, you really need to say more, because she said, because I think it just sounded very businesslike, because I was thinking business people, businesslike, I should sound businesslike. And she said, but it's more than that. She's one person that said to me after she'd taken some lessons that I had given her the space to think creatively in her business, which is what she really wanted to do in the end, was to do what she does, but do it in a more creative way. And I had given her space to think about that and to mull it over and to
what a gift.
let herself go there.
What a gift.
So it is a gift. I will admit it, and I have come to realize that, and that's what I want to share.
Yeah,
because I feel like we all have this potential and we just need to stop long enough to listen and hear what's coming to us. I was talking to someone recently, and we were talking about going from here to there, and whether if we pay attention to what we do as we go along, rather than just going, we call it end gaining in the technique, and where you're just going for that goal, and you have your eye so much on the goal that you're just focused on getting there that you don't notice along the way how you're getting there or how it's going. And there are things that will come at you from either way, new inputs, so that it might end up that goal that you're heading for isn't really even the one, but by listening you get ideas along the way that go, oh, I hadn't thought of that, let's go there, because that really is more of what I want.
Yeah. And you get so engrossed in your eye on the goal that you miss, the richness of the journey.
Oh, that's true. And also what might influence the richness of would definitely influence the richness of the outcome.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
I've often thought that our local transportation group stole the best of all little elevator speeches, because what they say is how we get there matters. And they're talking about mass transit, but I think that's true for so many things in life. How we get there matters. It's not just a matter of getting there, it's how we get there that makes the big difference.
It's true.
We have to do it in a certain way. So, I hear you're writing a book? Is that right? Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, for all my life since I was in high school or way back then, I have just wanted to write a book. And I thought about all different subjects and decided that there was probably I didn't have the talent for it, for one thing. That's one thing. But then, what could I write that anybody would be interested in?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I got my website going, I realized that I spend hours writing always. I've always kept a journal. Every day I write something. And I was writing these long emails to people, and I thought, they don't want to read all this. So I thought, why don't you put that into some good use? So I said, okay, I'll get a book on writing a blog. Well, this was even before the class and the website and all. And so I got a Huffington Post guide on writing blogs, and I read it and said, if you like writing letters and you do that, then this is really for you. And I thought, okay. So I thought, okay, I'm going to write for my new website, and then I started getting some good feedback from people I didn't even know read it. Friends that said, oh, I read it every time. And it's just sort of about breath, how breath and the Alexander technique and my thoughts of that, how my everyday experiences are influenced and how I react as a result of using the breath and the technique.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
So sometimes it's goofy, sometimes it's serious. not all the time. So I thought, okay, I think this would make a book if I just keep writing enough. So I just keep writing I try to write nearly every day.
Uh-huh.
And I only post a blog probably once a week or every week and a half.
Uh-huh.
And so I have a lot of stuff. And I'm just keeping writing, and my idea is to create a book that would be a daily, something to read daily.
Oh, good.
And then the reader would have space under it to write.
Uh-huh.
So to write their own idea.
Oh, so they could be kind of doing it as a reading exercise and an inspiration, and also a journal.
Yeah, so it'd be inspirational
react
for them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's a grand idea. I really do.
Well,
good for you.
Well, I think it is, and people I've mentioned who thought it was a good idea, people who I feel know more than I do about these things. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to keep on with that and write and hopefully do some speaking for inspirational kind of
great idea,
motivational kind of things, and use the book.
So I can see you integrating this into your Breath is the Answer business. So are you thinking of some other next steps for your business? So, Fay, are you, I know we're talking about your book, and I love that what you're talking about with the memoir, you could, and what would I call it, kind of a daily journal?
Right.
Yeah, you could integrate that into your practice very well, but are you thinking of other ways that you might scale Breath is the Answer? Are you thinking of maybe doing some webinars or some video classes, or does your business require you to do one-on-one?
Yeah, the work that I do is not necessarily one-on-one, but it does need to be done in person.
Okay.
The technique really, because it is hands-on, and that is what makes it different from other modalities or other trainings or other tools.
Mm-hmm.
So although I can work in groups, so I do plan to do workshops and market the workshops with perhaps speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm planning a 3-day intensive right now.
Oh, good.
Start, and then I think that is something that I could market and go other places with. I do need a video for the speaking, so I need to figure out how to do that, get somebody to video a presentation that I expect. So some of that can go on my website. There are a lot of teachers who have done instructional videos, and they're all over YouTube. I don't feel like I need to do that too, because that's just not what I wish to do. Now, I'm open to whatever ideas there may be some ideas of how I could do some of that.
Yeah.
It has to do with the speaking part of it, not the instructional, not Alexander technique. But I'm not there yet. I'm occupied with the book and writing and having some people that I'm working with privately and developing workshops and having the workshops maybe go to follow-ons that people could keep coming once a week in a group to work together on their skills.
I think that's a really good idea, take it step by step. And, the one-on-one is fabulous, but one-on-one is very expensive. And, it's almost more than people can afford to pay you. And, it's great. And maybe a one-on-one can be part of how you put your package together. Maybe they start with a one-on-one and then, come back and work with a group. Even the acupuncturists have figured this out. They have figured out how to do, group acupuncture.
And Alexander teachers are, at least the ones I know, are becoming more and more willing to do some groups, and I think they're very, very useful. It's very useful to work in small groups because with what I do, we feed off each other.
Wow,
So a class would be no more than 8 or 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
So I can still do work with each person in a group setting. So it's,
right.
yeah. And then
I think that's very good.
Yeah. So it's a good model, I think.
Yeah, because that's what we're always trying to figure out, how to scale,
Mm-hmm.
So, Fay, I have just loved talking with you, and I'm, the concepts that you're talking about, breath is the answer, we exhale first, become aware of the reactions that we have learned how to do automatically, but let's get those back into our consciousness and change them when they're being detrimental to us. Wow, fabulous stuff.
What a concept, eh?
Yeah. So I'm sure we have some listeners who are excited to have learned about you and your work. So we're about out of time, but can we tell them how to get hold of you?
Sure. Go to breathistheanswer.com. That's my website. All my contact information is on there. And my local telephone number in Portland, Oregon is 503-222-2507. And I'm happy to speak with anybody about a speaking engagement or a workshop or any new ideas.
Work with you.
Bring me some new idea.
How they can work with you and you can help them change their lives.
That's
Pretty
right,
fantastic.
exactly.
So listeners, I'm going to, we're out of time today. This has been a great discussion, and I'm really appreciative of Fay for joining us and taking her time to do that. And I want to tell you again that this is Jackie B. Peterson, your host today, and I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs, and my goal is to help solopreneurs build the financial success that they want by offering the services, the ideas, the creative work, the music, the painting, the consulting, the writing that they do so lovingly in their businesses. And please go to the website, bettersmarterricher.com. Join the blog, the discussion on the blog, sign up for the free newsletter, and you can download a free ebook outlining the 7 principles. You can also look at the 3 online courses that we have available. The one people really seem to love is How to Charge What You're Worth. And you can learn about our study groups, which are really powerful in helping you adapt the principles of Better, Smarter, Richer to your own work. Next week, we're going to have a repeat guest, Judy Lawrence, who is going to talk to us about finances. You all loved her last time, and she's going to be back again, and I just look forward to talking with her as well. So have a great day, and we'll talk with you next week. Thanks, and goodbye.